For decades, Denzel Washington has been the face of strength, discipline, and undeniable excellence. With his commanding presence and unshakable faith, he's inspired millions around the world. From Training Day to Glory, from Malcolm X to Fences, Denzel didn't just play heroes, he embodied them. But behind the awards, the speeches, and the legacy, there's a story most people never hear. A story of pain, faith, sacrifice, and the heavy burden that comes with greatness. Now at 70, Denzel Washington is looking back, not as a movie star, but as a man who has weathered storms, made mistakes, and learned the hardest lessons of all. He speaks of the price of success, the loneliness behind fame, and the unbreakable belief that carried him through every dark season of his life. Success will test your soul, Denzel once said. It's not the applause that matters. It's who you become when no one's watching. This is not the story of a celebrity. It's the story of a man who rose from struggle to purpose, who lost and found himself through faith, and who now, after a lifetime in the spotlight, finally reveals the truth about what it really takes to live a life of meaning. Long before Denzel Washington became a symbol of discipline and greatness, he was just a boy from Mount Vernon, New York, a quiet dreamer trying to make sense of a chaotic world. Born on December 28, 1954, Denzel Hayes Washington Jr. grew up in a home divided by both love and struggle. His father, a Pentecostal preacher, believed in order, faith, and hard work. His mother, Lennis, was a beauty salon owner, warm, determined, and fiercely protective of her children. But when Denzel was just 14, everything changed. His parents' marriage began to crumble, and he found himself drifting between two very different worlds, one of discipline and one of survival. That was a turning point, Denzel later said. I could have gone in either direction, the streets or the church. For a while, the streets almost won. Many of Denzel's childhood friends ended up lost to drugs, prison, or violence. He often said that if it hadn't been for his mother's unwavering faith, he might have been one of them. My mom kicked me out, he once revealed. Not because she didn't love me, but because she wanted me to grow. That decision saved my life. Lennis sent him away to a private prep school upstate, a completely different world from the one he knew. There, surrounded by opportunity and structure, Denzel began to see the possibilities that lay beyond his neighborhood. That's where I learned discipline, he recalled. That's where I learned to focus. After high school, Denzel attended Fordham University, where he initially struggled to find his purpose. He changed majors several times, unsure of what path to follow. Then, one day, by pure chance, he performed in a student play. The moment he stepped on stage, something inside him shifted. I felt alive for the first time, he said. That's when I knew, this is it. But Hollywood was not waiting with open arms. Denzel faced rejection after rejection. Casting agents told him he was too serious, too intense, or simply not what they were looking for. But he never gave up. Fall down 7 times, get up 8, he often quoted, a mantra he still lives by. In those early years, Denzel learned one of his life's greatest lessons. Success isn't built on talent alone, it's built on faith and discipline. Every morning before auditions, he prayed. Every night before bed, he thanked God even for the failures. Faith doesn't mean everything will be easy, he said. It means you'll have the strength to keep going when it's not. His breakthrough came with St. Elsewhere, the hit TV series that aired in the 1980s. As Dr. Philip Chandler, Denzel's quiet power caught the attention of Hollywood's biggest directors. But it was his performance in Cry Freedom, 1987, as South African activist Steve Biko, that turned him into something more than an actor. It made him a voice. Not long after, he starred in Glory, 1989, a role that would win him his first Academy Award. But behind that triumph was a man who still carried the lessons of his youth. Humility, faith, and a sense of responsibility to something greater than himself. Denzel often spoke about his mother's words that guided him through every challenge. Denzel, you do what's right. You stay humble. You put God first, then everything else will follow. Looking back, he admits she was right. Every struggle, every rejection, every door that closed only strengthened his purpose. He wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was chasing meaning. As Denzel's career began to rise, he realized something profound. that true success isn't measured by trophies or applause, but by the impact you leave on others. And for him, that journey had only just begun. By the time the 1990s arrived, Denzel Washington was no longer just an actor. He had become a force. With performances that commanded silence in theaters and respect in Hollywood, Denzel had achieved what few could: universal admiration. But behind that calm, dignified presence on screen was a man grappling with the weight of expectations, identity, and purpose. After glory earned him his first Oscar, the world saw him as a new kind of Hollywood hero, powerful yet grounded, magnetic yet humble. He wasn't the loudest or flashiest star, but his intensity drew audiences in like a magnet. Directors marveled at his ability to command a scene with just a glance. Yet Denzel knew something most of them didn't, that every role came with a price. He once said, "Fame is a blessing and a burden. You can lose yourself in it if you're not careful." While his career soared with iconic roles in Malcolm X, Philadelphia, and The Pelican Brief, Denzel quietly carried the pressure of representation. As one of the few black leading men in Hollywood at the time, he knew that every role he chose mattered. Every word, every gesture, every decision would echo beyond the screen. "I felt like I was carrying more than a character," he said. "I was carrying a generation's hope." Spike Lee's Malcolm X became a defining moment. Denzel didn't just act, he transformed. He studied Malcolm's speeches, memorized his mannerisms, and immersed himself so deeply that even those who had known the real Malcolm were stunned. The performance was revolutionary, but the emotional toll was heavy. "I gave everything I had to that role," he later admitted. "When we wrapped, I was spiritually exhausted. As the applause grew louder, so did the isolation. Fame can be lonely, and Denzel often retreated from Hollywood's parties and gossip. "That's not my scene," he once said. "I'd rather be home with my wife and kids." His marriage to Pauletta Pearson, whom he met early in his career, became his anchor. "There's no Denzel Washington without her," he said. "She's the rock." Their marriage wasn't always easy. He was away filming for months, and fame tested their bond many times. But Pauletta's quiet strength and faith kept them grounded. "We've been through it all," Denzel confessed, "but we never quit on each other." Love is a decision, not just a feeling. At the height of his fame, Denzel began to feel conflicted. Hollywood wanted him to be a star, but he wanted to be a servant, to use his platform for something deeper. He started turning down roles that didn't align with his values. "I can't just take anything," he explained. "If it doesn't uplift, if it doesn't challenge people to think or grow, I don't want it." This moral clarity sometimes cost him lucrative deals and leading roles, but he didn't mind. "I'd rather have peace than popularity," he said. By the late 1990s, he had become a living legend, winning awards, breaking barriers, and redefining what Hollywood thought a leading man could be. Yet he still approached his craft like a student. He prayed before every performance, thanked God after every shoot, and kept his mother's Bible close. One day, during a press interview, a reporter asked Denzel if he felt proud of his success. His answer silenced the room. "Pride? No. Gratitude, yes. Because I know none of this is about me. I'm just a vessel." Those words reflected who Denzel had become, a man shaped not by fame, but by faith. Behind the Oscars and blockbuster hits stood someone who never forgot where he came from. The boy from Mount Vernon was still inside the man, humble, watchful, and thankful. He had seen friends fall to temptation, careers crumble under ego, and marriages destroyed by fame. He refused to let that be his story. Denzel knew that staying true to himself was the hardest role he'd ever play, but also the most important. As Denzel Washington entered the 2000s, his success reached heights few could imagine. He was a two-time Academy Award winner, a respected director, and one of Hollywood's most trusted voices. Yet behind the camera flashes and red carpets, Denzel faced a different kind of battle. The quiet war between public triumph and private turmoil. He often said that fame doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you've always been, and as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the tests of his character. In interviews, Denzel has admitted that the higher he climbed, the harder it became to stay humble. "There were moments," he said, "when I thought I was in control. But God reminded me, I'm not the director of this story." During the early 2000s, he began facing internal doubts, not about his talent, but about his purpose. He'd already achieved more than most actors ever dream of, yet something in him felt restless. "Success can be dangerous," he explained. "It can make you forget why you started." While filming Training Day 2001, Denzel tapped into a darker side of humanity, portraying a corrupt detective so convincingly that it earned him his second Oscar. But that same performance forced him to confront parts of himself he didn't always like. "I had to face the fact that we all have a little bit of good and evil in us," he said. "The question is, which one do you feed?" After Training Day, Denzel made a conscious decision to realign his path. He wanted his work to mean more than just entertainment. "If I'm not inspiring or challenging people, then what am I doing this for?" he asked. That's when faith became his compass again. Every Sunday, no matter where he was in the world, Denzel would find a church. Not for the cameras, not for publicity, but to reconnect with something real. "I need that reminder," he said, "that it's not about me, it's about service." He began mentoring young actors, visiting schools, and quietly funding community programs without fanfare. "You'll never hear about half of what he does," one close friend revealed. "He doesn't do it for attention. He does it because it's right. But even a man of faith faces storms." Around this time, Denzel experienced personal losses, the deaths of close friends and mentors that shook him deeply. Each loss reminded him of the fragility of life, and he began speaking more openly about gratitude and legacy. "Tomorrow isn't promised," he said. "So what are you doing today that will matter when you're gone?" He also became more vocal about the dangers of ego in Hollywood. "This business can destroy you if you let it," he warned. "It'll make you believe you're untouchable. But the truth is, you're only as strong as your foundation." For Denzel, that foundation was faith and family. His wife Pauletta remained his anchor, reminding him to pray, to stay humble, and to focus on what truly matters. Together, they raised 4 children who grew up largely outside the glare of Hollywood. "I didn't want them chasing fame," Denzel said. "I wanted them chasing purpose." One of his most powerful lessons came from his mother, shortly before her passing. She told him, "Denzel, you do a lot of good. But remember, the Bible says to whom much is given, much is required." Those words hit him hard. He realized that every blessing carries responsibility. After her death, Denzel began speaking at churches and universities about faith, discipline, and gratitude. His message was simple but profound. Put God first in everything you do. And though the world still saw him as a Hollywood legend, Denzel saw himself as a servant, someone trying to leave the world better than he found it. "The best part of life," he said, "isn't about awards. It's about how many lives you can touch before you go." As he grew older, his faith didn't just sustain him, it defined him. The boy who once wandered between 2 worlds had finally found peace in the only one that mattered, the one built on grace, purpose, and truth. At 70 years old, Denzel Washington stands as one of the most respected figures in Hollywood, not just for his body of work, but for the unwavering values that shaped his journey. While others chased fame, Denzel chased purpose. And now, looking back over 5 decades of triumphs and trials, he has become the rarest kind of celebrity, one who uses his light to guide others out of the dark. In recent years, Denzel has spoken more openly about the truth behind his success and what truly matters when the cameras stop rolling. "When I leave this earth," he said in one interview, "I don't want to be remembered for the movies. I want to be remembered for how I lived." That statement sums up everything he's learned. The awards, the fame, the accolades, they're all temporary. What lasts, he believes, are integrity, kindness, and faith. "You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse," he often says with a smile. "You can't take any of it with you, but you can leave something behind in people." These days, Denzel spends more time teaching than performing. He speaks at universities, inspiring students to dream with discipline. He tells young actors to stop chasing fame and start chasing excellence. "Do the work," he urges. "The fame will come. But it's meaningless if you don't have a foundation." He's also become a mentor to countless young performers in Hollywood, many of whom say that one conversation with Denzel changed their lives. His message is always the same: be grateful, be disciplined, and be humble. But the hardest lesson Denzel says he's learned isn't about Hollywood. It's about self. The toughest fight you'll ever face, he said, is the one between who you are and who the world wants you to be. For years, he fought to balance fame with faith, success with sincerity. Now, in his later years, he's found peace in knowing that he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He still prays every morning, still thanks God every night. I've been blessed beyond measure, he said. And I know none of it is because of me. It's because of grace. When asked what he's most proud of, Denzel doesn't mention Training Day or Malcolm X. Instead, he talks about his family. His wife, Pauletta, and their children, the people who kept him grounded when the world tried to pull him away. Everything starts at home, he said. If you win in the world but lose at home, you've lost it all. He also takes quiet joy in giving back, funding scholarships, supporting inner-city schools, and uplifting the next generation of storytellers. But he refuses to take credit. I'm just planting seeds, he said. Somebody else will water them. At 70, Denzel's face carries the lines of wisdom, his voice deeper, his gaze softer, but his conviction is stronger than ever. He's often quoted as saying, "Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship." It's a philosophy that's carried him through every challenge. He believes that struggle isn't something to fear, it's something to grow from. As he reflects on his journey, Denzel shares the truth that most people overlook. Don't confuse movement with progress. You can run in place all day and still get nowhere. To him, life is about direction, not speed. It's about waking up every morning with gratitude, purpose, and a willingness to serve. My job isn't to impress, he said. It's to inspire. And perhaps that's why Denzel Washington's legacy feels different. It's not defined by how high he climbed, but by how grounded he stayed. The boy from Mount Vernon became a man of faith, a husband, a father, a leader, and in the end, a messenger of something far greater than Hollywood. When asked what advice he'd give to the next generation, Denzel paused, smiled, and said, "Put God first. Everything else will fall into place. That's the real secret. Not fame, not fortune, but faith." And with those words, the curtain doesn't close. It simply draws back to reveal the truth of a life well lived, one guided not by applause but by purpose.